Hello, and welcome to today's presentation on a recently challenged book. Today we will cover three main discussion points. The first is a summary of the book that highlights topics being challenged. The second is looking closer at why it is being challenged and who is specifically challenging it. The third and final point is exploring what the ALA, or the American Library Association, has to say regarding book challenges and the freedom to read. The book we will discuss today is Looking for Alaska by John Green. This book is recommended for ages 14 and up by the publisher. It is the winner of the Michael L. Prince Award, the highest award in young adult literature, a 2006 YALSA Best Fiction for Young Adult selection, NPR 100 Best Ever Teen Novel selection, a Kirkus Best Book, and a School Library Journal Best Book of the Year. This young adult novel is about Miles Pudge-Halter, who goes to boarding school to find his great perhaps, which is his way of searching for his purpose in life. While there, he rooms with a fellow junior named Chip, who goes by Colonel. He becomes friends with Takomi and explores dating Laura, both classmates. He also meets the elusive, strong-willed, beautiful, and moody Alaska Young. This novel covers their adventures and misadventures at boarding school, counting down the first 136 days before the incident. Pudge experiences smoking, drinking, and playing pranks with his new friends. He is also processing his romantic feelings for Alaska. He explores his sexuality through different encounters with Alaska and Laura on separate occasions. Following an evening of the friends drinking and playing Truth or Dare, Pudge and Alaska kiss for several minutes. After they all fall asleep, Alaska sneaks out and comes back in, distraught and demanding they help her leave campus in her car, which they do, even though she is very drunk. Not knowing till the following day, Alaska crashes her car into a police cruiser and dies on impact. The second half of the book covers the last 136 days, where Pudge and the Colonel, along with Laura and Takomi, try to solve her death as they work through their grief individually and collectively. They want to know if her death was an accident or suicide, as they feel guilty for letting her drive off so drunk, and they could have stopped her instead of helping her escape. Pudge's desire to solve this mystery eats away at his friendships and grades until he realizes that not every mystery can be solved. Because of this, he works to salvage his friendship and grades and works to forgive and be forgiven by all, including Alaska. Ultimately, this is a story of teen friendship, finding one's purpose, coping with grief, and forgiveness. From the summary of the novel, we see several topics that have caused this novel to be challenged. The specific topics that have led to its challenge include offensive language, the use of drugs, alcohol, and smoking, being sexually explicit and may encourage students to sexual experimentation, and being unsuited for the age group. An example of smoking can be seen on page 44, where it says, Alaska finishes her cigarette and flicked it into the river. Why do you smoke so fast? Pudge asked. She smiled with all the delight of a kid on Christmas morning and said, Y'all smoke to enjoy it. I smoke to die. An example of drinking is found on page 179, where Pudge and the Colonel are figuring out how drunk Alaska was on the night she died. An excerpt from this example includes, at 2 o'clock in the morning, the Colonel took his sixth shot of vodka, grimaced, then frantically motioned with his hand toward the bottle of Mountain Dew I was drinking. I don't think I'll be able to go to Latin tomorrow, he said. His words were slightly slurred, as if his tongue were swollen. One more, Pudge pleaded. Okay, this is it, though. He poured a sip of vodka into a Dixie cup, swallowed, pursed his lips, and squeezed his hands into tight little fists. The second issue that often leads this book to being challenged is that it is considered sexually explicit, and that this may lead students to sexual experimentation. This concern comes from the discussion Pudge and Alaska have over finding porn magazines and a movie, which they proceed to watch the on-screen couple have oral sex. Later in the novel, Pudge and Laura experiment as a couple when she gives him oral sex. Not knowing how to do it, They go to Alaska for assistance, who shows them how to do it by using a tube of toothpaste. Following her demonstration, Laura and Pudge go back to her room to have a sexual encounter. Another reason this book has been challenged is the offensive language used throughout the novel. All these reasons combined have led some to deem this book unsuited for the age group. Now that we understand why the book is being challenged, we need to look at who is challenging this book. This novel has been challenged by two identified groups since 2008. It has been challenged by parents who have found it on required reading lists for their ninth graders, as was the case in a Colorado school district in 2013. These parents asked that it be either removed from the curriculum or the school's library. In 2016, another group that challenged and attempted the removal of this award-winning novel was the administrators of the Marion County High School in Kentucky, when the novel was considered for removal from the school's library collection and the senior English curriculum. In both examples, the book remained available in the school's library. Parents and school administrators began challenging this novel in 2008 and as recently as 2024, when it was tied for sixth place as the most frequently challenged book for that year. However, Looking for Alaska is not new to being frequently challenged, as it placed fourth on the 100 most frequently challenged books between 2010 and 2019 by the American Library Association. Now that we understand what this novel is about, why it is challenged, and who is challenging it, what does the American Library Association, or the ALA, have to say about challenged books and the freedom to read? The ALA believes that every individual will participate in critical thinking and determining what is good and bad for themselves, and they will make a personal decision on what they will read in their home. The freedom to read statement includes that librarians, among others, include a diverse collection of viewpoints, even those we may disagree with or go against our personal beliefs. The statement also states that it is the responsibility of librarians to protect the right of readers by not limiting access to materials and providing access to a diverse collection of materials. The ALA also has the Library Bill of Rights, and they have resources on what this means for minors accessing their school library. Article 5 of the Library Bill of Rights says that a person's right to use a library should not be denied or abridged because of origin, age, sex, background, or views. This means that as a library, we cannot limit who can access these materials and other resources being provided. As a First Amendment right, our students must have access to these resources with no strings attached. This document also goes on to discuss what is being purchased and selected for the collection, which should not be limited based on content and the age of those who are accessing the materials. The library is for everyone, and it is impossible to know what students will access or be interested in each year they are in school. We must trust our students to make the personal decision to decide what they will access in the school library and when to approach their teacher to discuss a second reading option. We also must trust our teachers and library staff in selecting materials best suited for their students in the library and the classroom. Trusting our students, teachers, and library staff will lead to a learning environment that is built on trust, exploration, and the freedom to ask questions and to explore new cultures and ideas. Thank you for your time. Following this, the references used during this presentation will be listed.